Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Kuhle Frank. Before I get into this case, I would like to give out my usual disclaimer. I mean no disrespect to the people I am going to be talking about. This is just information I found online and compiled into a video for educational purposes and for people to be aware of these cases. 19 July 2014, a beautiful day for the Morris family. 4-year-old Taegrin, his mother Chantal, 8-year-old sister and father Alwyn were visiting the kids' grandmother that Saturday afternoon in Regent Park, Boksburg. They had a beautiful Saturday as a family, and the grandmother was very happy to see her grandkids who were growing up very fast. They had spent the whole day there and decided to only go home later in the evening. When it was time to go, they said their goodbyes, walked out the gate and climbed into their white VW Golf. Chantal was backing Taegrin into his baby seat when 4 armed men approached them. These men ordered the family to get out the car. The sister and father jumped out the car whilst one man was putting his gun on Chantal's head while she was trying to unbuckle Taegrin from his baby seat. From all the rush and panic, Taegrin's foot gets tangled into the seatbelt. Chantal pleaded with the men to give her time to untangle Taegrin, but they jumped into the car, started the engine and sped off. Now I'm going to insert a video basically displaying what I've just talked about. It's not explicit, so if you're someone who's very lighthearted, it won't really trigger much, but I will leave a timestamp for you to skip on to if you don't want to watch the video. His mother ran after the car, pleading them to stop, but her cries went to deaf ears. She says the last thing that she remembers Taegrin saying was, "Mommy, help me." The car was found abandoned. Taegrin was found dead, with his foot still tangled onto the seatbelt about 4 to 8 kilometers away from the initial place. The police and the ambulance were called to the scene and an investigation began. About 2 days went by with no new leads or evidence for this case, and the Regent Park residents were furious. On the 21st of July, angry community members protested outside the Regent Park police station demanding justice for Taegrin. They were fed up with the level of crime that was happening in the area, and they wanted to ensure not only their safety but the safety of the children in the community. A 50,000 Rand reward was ordered to anyone who might lead to the arrest of all the hijackers. Taegrin's memorial service was held on Thursday evening, the 24th of July 2014, and thousands of people attended, including the then Ekurhuleni Mayor Mondli Ngubele, the councillors and police officials. There were so many people that many had to stand outside because the hall where the service was being held could not accommodate all of them. The community came out in numbers. They were really there for the Morris family. On the 26th of July 2014, his funeral service was held at the Regent Park Stadium. The community came out in numbers. Thousands came for his funeral, and many of them were wearing t-shirts with his smiling face on the front of them and the word "Genoeg is genoeg" printed in red. This basically interprets to "enough is enough," and I hope I did the Afrikaans justice. His little brown coffin was guarded by his classmates from Gabato pre-primary school. They also held lit candles to honor him. Many of his family members spoke so highly of him. He was such a well-mannered and special little boy who was loved by many, by the community, by his family, his friends, and teachers.
He was a real charmer boy. Really, he can charm girls, the teachers. If he doesn't want to do work, then he can promise us the world.
The then Gauteng Premier, David Makora, spoke at Taegrin's funeral, and he said a lot. He said he was deeply hurt by the manner in which the heartless killers took Taegrin's life. He also continued to promise the community that the criminals responsible for Taegrin's death would be found, driven out of the community, and dealt with accordingly. And the community was very happy about this. He also added that colored communities have been marginalized for too long, saying that this needed to change. This pattern has gone on for way too long, and Regia Park needed change.
In honor of Taegrin Morris, the 4-year-old Prince of Peace, we are going to be working with this community to bring back a sense of hope. And so we will bring back a full team of government here, social cluster MECs, and economic cluster MECs.
Taegrin's mother thanked everyone.
Taegrin was laid to rest in Van Dyke Park in Boksburg. Months went by and the people responsible for Taegrin's death were still not arrested and they were still not found. That was until there was a breakthrough in this case in late October 2014, 3 months after Taegrin's murder, when 32-year-old Thamsanqa Twala was arrested in connection with the hijacking and murder. He was arrested in Katlehong whilst visiting a relative, and he was positively identified as being one of the hijackers. He was charged with murder, robbery with aggravating circumstances, and possession of an unlicensed firearm. His first bail hearing was held at the Boksburg Magistrate Court, and it was very chaotic. The angry Regia Park residents called for the return of the death penalty. The community wanted this man to call out the other suspects that were with him that fateful evening so that they too would be brought to book. Now, because Thamsanqa Twala didn't have a lawyer, or he couldn't pay for his lawyer, his bail hearing was postponed, and this was done at least 2 times because of this reasoning, and his next appearance was set for the 14th of November 2014. On that Friday morning, the court was surrounded by a razor wire set up by the South African Police, Ekurhuleni Metro Police, and the police response team. And this was because of the outbursts in court by Regia Park residents at Twala's previous appearances with threats to kill Thamsanqa. The outcomes of this case were not what people were expecting. Firstly, Thamsanqa was not physically there, and that was for his own safety, and this angered the community. But what fueled them was the news that followed. The National Prosecuting Authority, also known as the NPA, withdrew all charges against Thamsanqa Twala, who was the only suspect arrested from the 3 men. The decision to release him was made due to the lack of evidence pinning him to this case. The prosecutor, Henk Strydom, said the police were to blame for this decision because they didn't investigate the matter properly. The police basically just relied on the identification and didn't do proper and further investigations. Taegrin's father was extremely disappointed by the way this investigation was handled. The family was told that the police didn't follow proper procedures during the investigation, and the way in which Thamsanqa was identified was also what led to the collapsing of this case. Alwyn remembers telling the police to take their time so they can gather enough evidence and build a strong case, because they as the family were not in a hurry. They wanted things to be done properly, in the proper manner, because they knew that if things were not done properly, this man would walk freely, and unfortunately that is what happened. Taegrin's great aunt Gladys Smith almost burst out in tears because she felt like Taegrin had fewer rights and justice than a dog. And honestly, it hurts me that someone would feel like that, you know, like describing this little boy's rights to an animal. The community was, as expected, angry. They wanted to know why this man walked out freely, because to them it didn't make any sense. So a meeting was set up in Regent Park where the state prosecutor and a few politicians were going to explain what went wrong and how he and his team came to this decision. On the day of the meeting, the community came out in numbers and waited for this prosecutor and the politicians to arrive, and they never did. And at that very moment, the community and the family lost all hope in the justice system. A new investigating officer was assigned to Taegrin's case in the hopes that someone new would be able to look for loopholes, find new information, new evidence, and basically look at this case in a completely different view. In September 2016, Chantal and Alwyn were blessed with another beautiful baby boy, who they named Braylon. More than 2 years went by with no leads, no arrests for the people responsible for Taegrin's death, and his case went cold. The community was stunned about this revelation. The lead investigator was always making empty promises to the family. The family shared so many details about the hijacking with the police, but nothing was done with this information. Alwyn stressed the need for these men to be arrested because their son getting justice would bring the whole family closure after years of trauma. He was also concerned about the fact that the men were roaming around the streets freely, possibly targeting other families. In 2017, the police officer in charge of this case assured the family that they were following different leads and that he knew who the suspects were and was waiting for a warrant to arrest them. The last update about this case was in 2017, where they were still investigating and looking for these men, and they are basically still looking for them today. Taegrin's case has basically joined the thousands of unclosed cold cases, and it's sad because these men are out there living their lives whilst a family is mourning and seeking justice for their child. A child they had big dreams for.
Hi, my name is Alwyn. I'm the father of Taegrin Morris. Basically, what we would like to get is basically just for justice to be served and for those guys to be caught and put away for a very long time, because as we are here, we don't want to see those people anymore. And most of all, it's not only that people that need to be captured, it's basically the guys who actually send them there for the car to hijack them. Those are the perpetrators that's got to be caught as well, because this thing will never stop here if we only lock these guys up. That they'll just find somebody's other kids to go on and do the same thing over and over and over. And these guys should be put away. They mustn't see the light of day anymore. That's basically all I can say.
And that is it for this case. I will leave all important information in the description box. So if you have any leads or anything like that, I will see you guys on my next video.